Rachel stepped carefully along the narrow creek that wound behind her family's old farmhouse, her long brown hair catching the dappled sunlight filtering through the towering oak trees. The 12-year-old girl had light tan skin that glowed warmly in the forest shadows, and her curious brown eyes sparkled with adventure as she followed the bubbling water deeper into the woods. She wore her favorite hiking boots and a comfortable blue t-shirt, perfect for exploring the mysterious trails she had never ventured down before. The forest grew darker and more mysterious as Rachel wandered further from home, following what seemed like an endless maze of winding paths. Thick spider webs stretched between the branches overhead, glistening with morning dew that caught the filtered sunlight. "This will be the best adventure yet," she whispered to herself, completely unaware that she was getting hopelessly lost with each step she took deeper into the wilderness. A rustling sound in the nearby bushes made Rachel freeze in her tracks, her heart pounding as she strained to see what might be watching her. From behind a massive pine tree stepped the strangest creature she had ever encountered, a being that appeared to be half human and half chameleon, with athletic muscles and skin that seemed to shift colors slightly in the changing light. He wore military green clothing that perfectly matched the forest around them, and his unusual eyes moved independently as they focused on her with curiosity. "Hello there, Miss," the creature said in a friendly voice, his skin flickering from green to brown as he spoke. "I'm Chester, and I couldn't help but notice you seem to be exploring pretty far from the main trails." His human-like face showed genuine concern, but his chameleon features made Rachel take several nervous steps backward, her mind racing with fear and uncertainty about this strange forest dweller. Rachel's eyes widened with suspicion as she stared at Chester's unusual appearance, convinced that any creature so bizarre must be dangerous. "Stay away from me," she shouted, backing away quickly while keeping her eyes fixed on his color-changing skin and independently moving eyes. She had heard stories about strange forest creatures, and Chester's half-human, half-chameleon appearance seemed to confirm her worst fears about what lurked in these deep woods. "Wait, I'm just trying to help," Chester called after her, his voice echoing through the trees as Rachel turned and ran down a steep, rocky trail. His athletic build allowed him to keep pace easily, but he maintained his distance, not wanting to frighten her further. Rachel's long brown hair streamed behind her as she fled, convinced that this strange creature would harm her if she gave him the chance. Rachel stumbled down the mountainous trail, her breathing becoming labored as the path grew steeper and more treacherous with each step. Sharp rocks jutted from the ground, and twisted tree roots created natural obstacles that threatened to trip her at every turn. Behind her, she could still hear Chester's voice calling out warnings about dangerous areas ahead, but she dismissed his words as tricks to lure her into a trap. The sound of rushing water grew louder as Rachel approached a series of magnificent waterfalls that cascaded down the mountain cliffs in thunderous torrents. The mist from the falls created a mystical atmosphere, but also made the rocks slippery and dangerous to navigate. "Oh no," Rachel gasped as she realized the trail seemed to end at the edge of a steep cliff, with no obvious way to continue her journey home. Panic began to set in as Rachel searched desperately for another path, her earlier confidence replaced by growing fear and confusion. The forest around her looked completely unfamiliar, and she realized with mounting dread that she had no idea which direction would lead her back to the safety of her family's farmhouse. Every tree looked the same, every trail seemed to lead deeper into the wilderness, and the shadows were growing longer as afternoon approached. A gentle deer emerged from the underbrush nearby, its large brown eyes reflecting the same confusion that Rachel felt in her heart. The beautiful animal paused to look at her before bounding away gracefully through the trees, leaving Rachel feeling even more alone and lost. She sat down on a moss-covered rock, fighting back tears as she tried to remember which way she had come from. "I should have listened to Chester," Rachel whispered to herself, finally admitting that her quick judgment might have been wrong. The strange creature had seemed genuinely concerned about her safety, but her fear of his unusual appearance had prevented her from accepting his offered help. Now she was completely lost, with no idea how to find her way back through the maze of forest trails. As Rachel stood up to continue searching for a way home, she heard a terrifying sound that made her blood run cold, the low, menacing hiss of a snake somewhere very close by. Her eyes darted frantically around the rocky ground, searching for the source of the threatening noise. Where is it?" she muttered, her voice trembling with fear as she tried to spot the hidden danger. The massive snake suddenly appeared from beneath a pile of fallen leaves, its thick body coiled and ready to strike as its forked tongue flicked out to taste the air. Rachel screamed and stumbled backward, but her foot caught on a loose rock, sending her tumbling toward the edge of the cliff where the waterfalls roared far below. Time seemed to slow as she realized she was about to fall to her doom. Just as Rachel felt herself slipping over the edge, strong hands grabbed her arms and pulled her back to safety with surprising speed and strength. Chester's athletic build and quick reflexes had allowed him to reach her just in time, his color-changing skin now a deep, protective brown as he held her steady. "I've got you," he said calmly, his unusual eyes showing nothing but kindness and concern. The snake, startled by Chester's sudden appearance, slithered away quickly into the underbrush, disappearing as mysteriously as it had appeared. Rachel found herself breathing heavily in Chester's steady grip, her heart pounding from the close call with both the venomous snake and the deadly cliff. She looked up into his strange but gentle face, finally seeing past his unusual appearance to the caring person beneath. "Thank you," Rachel whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rushing waterfalls nearby. She felt ashamed of her earlier behavior, realizing that her quick judgment based on Chester's appearance had nearly cost her the help she desperately needed. His military green clothing was now dusty from his quick rescue mission, but his expression remained patient and understanding. "You don't need to thank me," Chester replied with a warm smile, his chameleon eyes focusing kindly on her face. "I know I look different, and I understand why you were scared of me at first. Many people judge me by my appearance before they get to know who I really am." His skin shifted to a calmer green color as he spoke, reflecting his peaceful intentions. As they walked together along a safer trail, Chester pointed out various landmarks and explained how to navigate the forest paths that had seemed so confusing to Rachel earlier. A curious spider watched them from its intricate web stretched between two branches, and Rachel realized that even the smallest creatures in this forest had their own important roles to play. Chester's knowledge of the wilderness was impressive, and his gentle guidance made her feel secure for the first time since she had become lost. "There's your farmhouse," Chester said, pointing through the trees to where Rachel could see the familiar red roof of her family's home in the distance. Relief flooded through her as she recognized the creek that wound behind the house, the same waterway she had followed hours earlier when her adventure had begun. She turned to thank Chester again, but found that he had already begun to fade back into the forest shadows. "Wait!" Rachel called out, wanting to apologize properly for her earlier behavior and to thank him once more for saving her life. But Chester had already melted back into the forest like the skilled woodsman he was, his color-changing abilities allowing him to blend perfectly with the trees and shadows. She could hear his voice carried on the wind, warm and friendly as he called back, "Remember, Rachel, never judge a book by its cover." Rachel walked slowly back to her farmhouse, her mind filled with thoughts about the important lessons she had learned that day in the forest. She had discovered that appearances can be deceiving, and that kindness and courage come in many different forms, even from a half-human, half-chameleon creature named Chester who had risked his own safety to help a frightened girl find her way home. From that day forward, she would always remember to look beyond the surface and give others a chance to show their true character.